Hey everyone, it's LS, and this is going to be the patch 10.19 notes rundown. Just like in the last video, I'm going to be including the webcam again because it seemed like the feedback, a lot of people actually liked having the webcam so that you guys could see my reactions since I normally don't do this anymore on Twitch TV. So let's just get into it. This is the Worlds patch, and so again, Yone is going to be disabled. Samira must be disabled, right? So there's absolutely no chance that they're going to allow... How funny would it actually be, by the way, if Riot allowed Samira at Worlds, but Yone is not allowed? Okay, I'm just throwing that out there. But no, this is... there's probably no chance that Samira is going to be allowed. There are quite a bit of changes, and there's some that I'm very excited for, and some that I'm very sad about in regards to the nerfs, but let's just get right into it. So, Samira, the Desert Rose, I already had a first impressions video on her that you can probably check out. I think it was like 2 videos ago here on the YouTube page. Went over basically all of her abilities and what I thought about her, and she's going to be available in apparently 5 days, so that'll be pretty cool. You can definitely play her. Don't know where she's going to end up. I haven't been keeping up with her on PBE. She hasn't received the kind of... I think that it's really been overshadowed by Worlds and the fact that we know that she's not available and that Yone is going to be missing, which is sad, but whatever. Alright, W cooldown and cost reduced. W Fox Fire, cooldown 10 to 6 seconds to 9 to 5 seconds, cost 55 to 40 mana. This doesn't really matter. Unless there's some, like, Ahri enthusiasts at Worlds, I can't ever imagine Ahri randomly getting picked. Actually, wait, there is one Ahri player, or there's one player at Worlds that actually has an affinity for Ahri, but these changes don't... This doesn't touch on why Ahri isn't being picked in competitive, so it doesn't really matter. It's just a placebo. Akali, Q-base damage and AD ratio decrease. 5-point trike is down by 5 per rank, okay, and it's down by 0.5 ability power. Attack damage ratio stays the same. This isn't that big of a deal. This is, again, this is another thing where if you're willing to pick Akali, if you're playing her inside of competitive, this isn't going to change when and where you're picking Akali inside of the draft, or this isn't going to magically dissuade you from picking her. So this doesn't really matter. Again, this is just, they're trying to bring down, I guess, some of the power level on her. Aphelios, attack damage growth 2 to 2.4. So realistically, this is not, this is not the end of the world. Obviously, he's not getting insane amounts of power. I do think that Aphelios probably can come in very fringe cases, obviously, on, like, R4, R5. If you don't know what that means, it means red side 4th, 5th pick. Or alternatively, he could probably come in B4, B5. I think if he comes in any other spots, something's probably really going wrong in the draft phase, and I think it's very easy to punish him. So, in that regard, doesn't really matter. Azir, W bonus attack speed decrease, W rise. Now, there's a lot of Azir players at the tournament, so this is actually a pretty big deal. Bonus attack speed, 20 to 60% to 15 to 55%. Triple Soldier bonus attack speed, 20 to 60% to 15 to 55%. So, he's getting a slight nerf. This is going to obviously harm some of his laning phases, and it'll make some of the counterplay against him a little bit better. It's not the end of the world for him. Everything's gonna still be fine with Azir. So far, I mean, we're 3 champions into the patch, or 4 champions into the patch. We're not really actually having too problematic of changes. It seems like Riot's being very reserved with this patch. Caitlyn, base attack speed and attack speed growth decreased. Attack damage is down by 2, and attack speed growth 4% to 3.5%. This is pretty big, but it's not going to stop Caitlyn from getting picked at Worlds, in particular, because players are just going to be so good at exerting pressure with her and having the lane kingdoms that go on. Doesn't mean that Caitlyn doesn't have counter picks that exist inside of the meta, because she certainly does. But obviously, it's bringing it down a very, very slight amount. And so again, this trend remains consistent. Aurelia, our barrage and perimeter base damage increase later. Vanguard's edge, 125 to 325 to 125 to 375. So goes up 25 damage at rank 2, so level 11. Perimeter base damage is up by actually quite a bit, though. So 50 at rank 11, so 75 total, and then at the very end it goes up by 100. So that's actually a pretty big deal. So it goes up by 150 at max rank. Is this what's gating Aurelia? No. Is this going to magically make Aurelia players think, wow, I need to pick her now. This is what I live for. No, it's not. Aurelia, one of her most problematic points is obviously, her first item spike, and then again in mid-game, typically when she gets like 2.5 items, she starts to become a little bit of a menace again. She retains her power till about 4th item, and then she's essentially the same champion from that point forward. Getting a little bit more power inside of her Vanguard's Edge is definitely nice, especially for setting up thresholds, but I don't think again, it's not one of those changes that's like, wow, well, this champion is now going to gain more potency inside of the draft phase, or it has to be considered more often. This isn't a change that does that. Ivern, E-slow increase. Now, let's talk about a change that actually could do something like that. Trigger Seed is up by 10%, and remember, this is the ability that you end up maxing first, so just getting a flat 10% at every single rank, that's a big deal. That strips them of their tier 1 boots, is essentially what that's doing. Actually, it strips them from more than their tier 1 boots. So this is actually a pretty big buff. I think people really underappreciate like buffs like this when you strip someone, or on the flip side, when you end up gaining it yourself. And obviously I'm referring to something like Trundle with his movement speed increase on the ground and things of that nature. So Ivern, especially with Caitlyn being in the meta, is something that you could expect. Obviously, if you've been watching the Chinese solo queue, the super server, you've seen a lot of Rengars. Rengar's another champion that he can go top lane. There's also other shenanigans that you can do with him, and so Ivern definitely has a lot of potency there. Not super surprising. Lucian, base AD growth decreased. So his base attack damage growth 2.75 to 2.3, so it's down by a little bit. This is not really, again, it's not really doing anything. Lucian is still going to have his lane dominance. He's still going to have his lane kingdom. The buffs onto his Q and elsewhere, just really, really, really strong for establishing control. And remember, other mid laners are being hit like Azir, who are very prominent inside of the meta. And so this is just making Lucian all the more powerful, especially if not many other changes are coming in. So Senna, missed Wraith drop chance on minion kill decreased. 8.33% on minion Senna kills approximately once every 2 waves to 4.166 on minion Senna kills approximately once every 4 waves. So this is obviously problematic. Now, Sennas tend to range very differently in terms of the souls that they do manage to collect, depending on how the Senna approaches the early to mid transition, and then how they conduct themselves in the mid game. So this isn't like it harms Senna, but it's not magically going to prevent her from being picked. I will say that this is much more of a problematic nerf than Caitlyn got, and Senna is one of the answers to Caitlyn. Ashe, obviously, isn't on this list right now. Aphelios did just get buffed, so all of these things you have to sort of consider. They go hand in hand, and that's what's going on there. Sivir passive bonus MS increase. Passive Fleet Footwork, 30 to 50, levels 1 to 18 to 35 to 55, levels 1 to 18. I mean, this doesn't matter. Silas, R cooldown decreased later. R hijack cooldown 100 to 60 seconds to 100 to 40 seconds. So Silas's late game is getting a lot stronger. His mid game is getting some benefit, but it's the equivalency of like playing Silas and you roll a Cloud Dragon first and your jungler was Olaf and he gets it. Like, I mean, it's not the end of the world. I mean, his early mid transition is still going to be the same. He's still going to suffer from the same weaknesses there. Getting 10 seconds shaved off his ultimate, which is very conditional. Oftentimes he steals the ultimate, holds on to it, or he steals it and he's going to use it right away, but all of these are very conditional. So whenever you see cooldowns reduced by Riot on champions, you have to ask yourself, is this a champion that can either kill you with the cooldown, come back to lane, and now it's magically up again? And that depends a lot more on like the tendency of how the lane is going to play out, as well as minion waves, obviously spawning, and like what it means for like trade patterns and whatnot, and how oppressive ultimates like that can be. Sylas does not have one of those ultimates, and so it's not the end of the world. This is another one of those weird buffs. So far, we've only had 2 real changes, I feel like, this patch. We've had Ivern and Senna. We're going to move on now to Twisted Fate. Base MFs reduced, 335 to 330. Not a big deal. Twisted Fate, obviously, like, spacing. So I know some people will think this is really weird. I said this isn't that big of a deal. The reason that Twisted Fate is kind of weird is because he keeps getting hit. And obviously, Twisted Fate is a champion that movement speed is a very big part of his kit. He also tends to get items that increase his movement speed that augment based on his MS. So it's a little bit different. I mean, I guess also for Sivir that is going on as well when she ends up getting the crit items. But for Twisted Fate, I think people would understand that it's a little bit more important, especially because Twisted Fate is playing mostly against mages and mid, and so like spacing is definitely more problematic for him. But again, it's 5 MS. Udyr. Arcone damage increased. Tiger Stance tends to be the go-to for Udyr players, so we're giving a bit more bite and burn to his Phoenix Stance and its AoE damage playstyle. Wow, awesome. When's it getting reworked? Our Phoenix Stance, 50 to 275 plus 0.6 ability power to 60 to 310. plus 0.7 ability power. I wonder what this means for Guinzu's Rage Blade on Udyr, and I wonder what it means for some sort of weird variations of maybe AP. I'll be completely honest with you, I have no idea anything about Udyr. I saw some really crazy Korean Udyr player that goes like Phase Rush and Hextech Flash, and he just runs around with Nimbus Cloak and stuff, and he tries to like permagank from very unique areas. I don't know if he plays Phoenix Stance Udyr. I'll be honest with you. I don't really know a lot about this champion. So in that regard, I'm just waiting for him to get reworked. Vayne, our bonus AD increased. Final hour. Bonus attack damage 25 to 55 to 35 to 65. So that's actually kind of nice. This is legitimately strong. Inside of laning phase, this is very strong. Inside of mid game, just getting that extra little oomph. I think this is actually nice. So far we've had 1, 2, 3, what, 4, 5, 4, basically 4 realistic changes. Is that it? You seeing this? Yeah, ridiculous. Honestly, ridiculous. So obviously a lot of changes for one for all balance, ARAM, bug fixes. That's totally fine. And then we got upcoming skins and chromas. So before we get into the upcoming skins and chromas, let's just recap really quickly. I'm just gonna give you guys the gist. Ahri doesn't do really anything for solo queue or competitive. Akali doesn't really do anything for solo queue or competitive. Aphelios doesn't really do anything for solo queue or competitive. Azir does do something for competitive, doesn't really do anything for solo queue. And so for competitive, obviously, certain counter matchups get some extra trade potency against Azir. Caitlyn, it does do something for both, but on the very slight end, it's not going to prevent her from being picked. Aurelia, I actually feel like this probably does a lot more for solo queue than it does do for competitive, but obviously creating lethal thresholds for Aurelia in mid-game does become a little bit easier inside of laning phase, so I guess in that regard, it's kind of good at 1.5 items, but at that point, it does get a little bit weird. Ivern, massive change for solo queue. Very strong change for competitive. Lucian, I mean, same thing, doesn't really do much. Senna, very big hit, I think, to solo queue, where people probably are already having a little bit of difficulty farming in the first place. In competitive also, it is another big hit, especially because Senna's vary greatly in their ability to actually accumulate souls. Sivir doesn't really do anything. Silas doesn't really do anything. Twisted Fate doesn't really do a whole lot. But I mean, there's something. Udyr might actually be a very strong change, and then Vayne is actually a very big change for both solo queue and competitive. So, and the reason that I say this is because Vayne being able to get extra power in like early game trades and whatnot, level 6, 7, 8, or something of that nature, getting kills and accelerating faster. I mean, yes, she is going to probably auto-attack a lot during her ultimate, and so just getting a lot of extra oomph inside of it is actually kind of strong at those ranks, but it's less so important for something like Aurelia, where it starts coming online at, like, level 11, where she starts getting a lot of the power. So, you know, because the opponents are able to play around it a lot more. So anyways, that was it for all of the champions. Now let's go into the skins, because I know this is the most important part of the entire patch rundown. So, this is PsyOps Pike. It looks like this is actually a rework something like Sub-Zero and the next Mortal Kombat. I have no idea what's going on here. This looks like a choose your own adventure. Honestly, he looks a little bit pissed. And personally, I think the skin looks really cool, but it's giving me some sort of like an anime vibe to this, but I mean, this guy, he looks like a villain, but he looks like he's gonna be killed off pretty easily, so, you know, I mean, take that for what you will. Honestly, it's Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero and Spawn had a kid. Any trues or what? Alright, so let's see. PsyOp Victor. This actually looks really cool. For some reason, it looks like the background is all soot. Because of his suit as well, it just looks like a nuclear winter. I feel like this guy is something in like a post-apocalyptic war, if you've ever seen those movies with like the glowing yellow, and it looks like very ominous. I think that's what this Victor is actually giving off, and I think that's a very cool skin. So obviously, I really like this. It gives a very, very ominous post-apocalyptic vibe to it, and I think that's really cool. PsyOps Z. I mean, honestly, it looks like Master Yi. If you told me this was Master Yi, or if I just cut off a certain part of the photo, I think I would believe that it's Master Yi. And obviously, I really don't like when stuff like that is happening. I don't like honestly, like, what is going on here? It just looks like Master Yi is jumping everywhere. Master Yi wanted to be Zed for a day, is what I'm getting at here. Or Master Yi get reworked, who knows? PsyOps Samira final. Okay, so Samira has a PsyOps skin. I think the color of her hair is really, really nice. Obviously, I don't know how the skin is going to appear in game. I feel like this is a base skin where you don't totally know what it's really going to resemble inside of the game. Purple's actually a really cool color. I'm actually a really big fan of like purple stuff like this. Like I'm a huge fan of Mace Windu too from like Star Wars. I don't know if any other Mace Windu fans. You can leave comment below or something. But yeah. PsyOps Kayle. So this one kind of feels weird because she looks like she's some from alien race from like several star systems away, and she looks like she is like DTF, but not really, and you're kind of like hesitant about going into it because you think that she's gonna break your bones or something, and for some reason she's able to lift a car with her pinky, and you're thinking that's kind of kinky, but you're not really so sure when she invites you up to the spaceship. So I mean, that's what, that's what Kayle's going for there. Championship LeBlanc. So this is really interesting. I wonder if there's any Easter eggs here, like the Jarvan and Swain thingy. I wonder who that is actually in the background. I'm unsure. Maybe there's a way to know. Championship LeBlanc is really bizarre. I don't know what the logic is going into Championship LeBlanc. I think it's really sad when a champion like LeBlanc ends up getting the championship skin because this is a champion that most of the player base can't actually play. And I don't mean obviously I'm not like meaning for that to be offensive. I just mean she's very complex. She's very stressful to play, and even though she's very annoying to play against, she's very obnoxious to try to actually get all of her combos down to make everything feel smooth, and it doesn't really feel good playing her unless you get to that point, and she's not just a champion that you randomly pick up. So, I mean, it kind of feels a little bit bad there. Prestige Yasuo. Okay, where's Yone? What's going on here, honestly? A little bit ridiculous. He's looking like he stole DJ Sona's job, What if Sona was actually Yasuo? Not, I mean, I actually I have no idea. This looks like, honestly, I'm getting some like Johnny Cage, like more. I don't know why Mortal Kombat's in my head so much. I really actually have no idea. I have like some Johnny Cage, like Liu Kang vibes going on here. I don't know why or like what about this is making me think that, but this is literally, maybe it's like the logo sort of looks like the Mortal Kombat logo. I don't know if it's the golden appearance or what, but honestly, why is DJ Sona in my mind here? Can we get a different splash art or what? Anyways, that was it for the patch 10.19 notes rundown. I am really excited. I don't know if anyone will actually incorporate Ivern, but aside from that, we don't actually get like meaningful meta changes. Vayne maybe gets picked up a little bit more. Nothing else is really changing. Senna getting hit the way that she did is actually problematic to the meta right now, but I don't think it's going to be the end of the world. I am very interested in watching the next couple of weeks of YOLO Q unfold, obviously on the Chinese super server. And I'm really looking forward to Worlds and all that good jazz. So thank you guys for watching so much, as always, and hope you enjoyed it.